Change Your Life Through Love by Stella Terrill Mann. Part 2. How to Establish Love as the Highest Law of Your Life. Chapter 5. Speak and Listen with Love. Along with learning to look with the eyes of love at herself, her fellow men, and the very nature of the universe or God, seeing all to be good in spirit, Jenny had to learn day by day to speak and listen with love. The purpose of all this was twofold. First, to help her to become aware of a power greater than man and circumstance, a power able to create all good in her life, a power which she must work with hourly, trusting it to lead her forever forward. Second, to help her remember that she must be willing to work with it, that she must first give in order to receive. From Paul's words on love, I typed the following for Jenny. Though I speak with the tongue of men and of angels, but have not love, I am become a sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. On the same sheet, I also typed, He that is of God heareth God's word. Jesus in St. John chapter 8, verse 47. Jenny was to read these two quotations the first thing in the morning and the last thing at night. Seeing the importance of learning to speak with love, Jenny wanted a real stiff rule laid down, which she could remember quickly while working. So I told her to remember, nothing less than love gives you a right to open your mouth to speak. How many millions of needless, time-wasting, tinkling and tinsel words of idle chatter, ruinous critical words of harsh and brassy gossip, clanging cymbal words of confusion and destruction would be saved daily if enough people tried to follow that rule. Speak with love or remain silent. If we want to be coldly calculating about this and we say we don't care what happens to other people and their lives, but we do want to change our own for better, we still have to learn to speak with love. For there is a spiritual law involved in the matter. Every idle word that man shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. For by thy words shalt thou be justified, and by thy words shalt thou be condemned. Jesus in Matthew chapter 12, verse 36 through 37. We have no choice. Our words do become flesh and dwell among us as horrible or as helpful, as building or as destructive, as enriching or as impoverishing as we ourselves make them. After its kind declares the unbreakable law of creation. And every day is Judgment Day. Once we set a creative force into motion, only love itself, the highest law, can hold back the result and make void the lower law. For the lower law, unstopped will, must create after its kind. Nothing under that law, our tears, fears, regrets, can prevent it. The provision after its kind applies to thoughts, things, feelings, words, and deeds as it does to trees, animals, and men. People grow discontent, complain that God does not hear their prayers or does not love them enough to answer, while all the time the trouble is they neither know how to ask right nor how to listen when the answer does come. Paul is right about it. No matter how intelligent we may be, no matter how convincingly we may speak with the tongue of men and of angels, our prayers avail us nothing if they are outside the law of love. Though we may have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though our faith could remove mountains, we still are nothing without love. There are two parts to listening with love. One is that in truly doing so, we need nothing except that which falls within the law of love as given in the two great commandments. For listening means accepting also. Jenny's stiff rule for listening was, turn a deaf ear to everything but good and growth. This eliminates listening to negative or evil gossip, to ideas of fear, words of hate, plans of deceit, limitation, and the like. No one should listen to such things, for to do so is to turn away from nature as it is, the inner spirit of love which is in everything. The other part of listening with love is that by our own intent to do so, we open the way for all things of love not only to speak to us, but also to listen to us in return. We open the perfect prayer channel of communicating with God when we learn to listen and to speak with love. Daily, hourly, we must live within the law of desire for all, acts that promote the welfare of all, faith that holds to a belief in good. We must speak of love and with love to our fellow men. We must speak words that build, restore, heal, free. We must speak words that praise, bless, and encourage. We must voice our trust, our desire to promote the welfare of all good for all men, including ourselves. We should never speak ill of ourselves. If the ill exists, cure it. But to speak of it and do nothing about it is to work a double harm against ourselves. All the above I went over again and again with Jenny. I then wrote down some daily rules which worked so well for her that I give them here. 1. Try never to speak when you are angry. 2. Try never to speak when you feel bitterly critical. 3. Never speak of your fears, ill health, bad luck, hard times, or regrets of any kind. Work to eliminate them, yes, but negative words and ideas show lack of faith in God to supply the desire for good and lack of gratitude for the good we do have. On the positive side, I gave the following rules. 1. Be quick and sincere with compliments, looking for honest opportunities to express them. Be generous with praise and gratitude. Speak of the hopeful and encouraging things of life. 2. Speak in tones of happiness, warmth, fearlessness, contentedness, and good cheer. Not to be of good cheer is to doubt the goodness of God. 4. At least 100 times a day say, I thank God for His love and guidance. I thank God for my great good fortune. Jenny was to let the tone of her voice always indicate the fact that she was happy to meet and to serve others, and that she truly liked to listen to them, and that she expected to hear something good by listening. At the same time, she was to let her eyes also carry a friendly message of warmth and welcome. Soon, Jenny had it all down to a few words and gestures. You're wonderful, she'd say with her eyes, her voice, her whole manner. Tell me about yourself, she'd say, and make it sound as if she had said your very wonderful and interesting self. It was not an act. A new world had opened up to Jenny, a world of honest, friendly, kind, and decent people. A world without fear, a world of loveliness. Jenny found the world which she never had known before but always had wanted in her heart. All who came in contact with her soon realized that her gratitude was natural and deep. We all come to earth with a talent, a special ability which we can put to work to help the world, receiving in return all that we desire of life. For life is fair, just beyond our present feeble powers to understand. No one is bankrupt. Jenny's talent was a natural interest in people, but she had not known how to use it. She had been born for love and laughter. So far, her talent had done nothing but get her into trouble. Soon Jenny had overcome one of her most debasing habits, that of cursing and swearing. A cuss word just comes so easy, she apologized when I frequently took to her to ask about it, pointing out that swearing was not speaking with love. Jenny knew so many vivid and descriptive words that she could talk at length without repeating any of them, a fact of which she once was proud. At the last touch of anger, she would be off in a streak of sizzling insult designed to burn her victim to a crisp. But as she began to learn that what she really did was to burn herself to a crisp instead, she held her tongue when she couldn't actually speak with love. She also had to break herself of her long-time habit of idle gossip with someone she liked about someone she didn't like. "You are talking about yourself," I would tell her. Jenny liked people, and she wanted them to like her. Once she learned what was back of her gossiping, she was able to stop it. "Got to stop letting my mouth run," she would say. Jenny fried hamburgers, dished up French fried potatoes, poured sticky pink dressing over half a head of lettuce, and sang out to the waitress who had called her a big fat cow to come and get it, dearie. All the time, she was silently blessing, loving, seeing, thinking of that girl's highest self. Each day as she worked, Jenny thought about love. She memorized Paul's words and called them her beautiful poem that had a tune to it like a song. As her sense of frustration was checked, Jenny began to see real progress, for she had at last begun to love herself. This was not vanity. Far from it. It was soul pride, more than self-respect, born of gratitude for life. She had begun to stir up the gift of God within herself. She no longer drank cups of coffee-flavored cream stiff with sugar, as she once had. She no longer felt the need of eating a snack just for company with herself before going to bed, because now she never was lonely, for she knew God was always with her. The glare of suspicion left her eyes. A frank and friendly look came in, a trusting appraisal and approval of others. Her voice lost its whine and found a new calm, cheerful tone. Her temper slowly cooled. The day she reported to me that she had lost a total of 20 whole pounds of ugly fat, I knew Jenny would make real progress. For nothing encourages us in our efforts to promote our welfare so much as a glimpse of real success. No, it was not always easy. There were setbacks. For example, Jenny found it hard to trust an invisible law to bring her daughter home to her. But she worked and prayed, succeeded and failed, and started all over again, trying to live a life of good. Once she lost her temper and threw a heavy iron skillet at her boss. Afterwards, she got down on her knees to thank God that her aim had been bad and she had missed him. But in spite of all temporary setbacks, Jenny forged ahead. She never once lost sight of her purpose. She never once changed her desire to learn how to be good. From Paul's love never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Jenny made up a phrase, love never lets you down no matter what anybody says, which she used on herself and others. She had seen it at work before her very eyes on the waitress, Effie, who had called her a fat cow. Effie, who hated the world, herself and her work, became Jenny's best friend and listened to her teachings. For Jenny took great pains to find the girl's good points, to speak, to listen to her with love. Jenny proved good for her boss's business. He took her from the kitchen and put her out front. Soon his business increased. Help stayed longer than his help had ever stayed before. Jenny became the center around which the whole restaurant revolved. But the man would not increase her pay. Jenny managed not to hate him once. Remember, love will never let me down. She blessed him and continued to look to the Spirit of love, God, for increase in supply. The Spirit of love as a power, a guard, and a keeper of books in the world became very real to Jenny. Jenny's appearance improved. A dentist replaced 2 teeth which were conspicuously missing, and her smile became charming. Care brought back the copper lights to her hair. She continued to reduce her weight. She stopped cutting her own throat with sharp words and gossip about others. Jenny's employer sold his business. She had been telling all who would listen that she'd love to open a roadside stand of her own just to be sure the public got a real good coffee. A customer who had watched Jenny work trusted her in financing her little business. He was annoyed, he said, with Jenny's employer for not giving her a share of the profits she had earned for him. She had greatly admired her spirit. So once again, Jenny had seen the law work out in her own life and affairs. As she had done unto others, it was now being done unto her. Love always keeps the accounts square, just as Jenny had seen and worded it. After its kind, said Jenny, starry-eyed, when we talked it over. As long as I work for all good, I'll never be cheated, she declared. Jenny's little business was a success from the first. She catered to stray tourists and to the regular truck trade. I went out to watch her in action several times, just to see love at work. You're looking fine, Bill, Jenny would say, and mean it. Bill would stir his coffee slowly in order to hold back time, for Jenny was making time at her place so very pleasant. Bill's heart was just as hungry for love as the heart of everyone else. Have you ever heard of anyone who had too much love? Bill had a wife, a job, a measure of happiness, but not more than he could hold. As with Bill, so with all. No wonder Jenny's trade flourished. Those tired drivers, half bent to the shape of the cab of their big pounding trucks, tarried, talked, relaxed, and were warmed by this woman's honest interest, reluctant to leave that interest because it was honest. In all their run, no one else made them feel so important, so welcome, so happy as did Jenny. For once her fears were removed, once she had stopped expecting the worst of men, she found them to be delightful, interesting friends, who were worth her time and her efforts on their behalf. Jenny prospered in purse, for her friends told their friends to be sure to stop at Jenny's place. Jenny thought the nicest men in the country came to trade with her. She was aware that the law, after its kind, was still on the job working for her. Some of those men called her Mom, some called her Jen, some just said, hey, you. But to a man they saw Jenny's high regard for them, felt her love of goodness, and they liked it, for it spoke to their very secret hearts. Not one of them would conduct himself below Jenny's high regard. They tried to outdo each other in living up to what Jenny thought of them. It was the way of life. It was the way of love. It is the method God uses to take the human race forward. Then one day Jenny said she thought she ought to get married because it looks so respectable, like I ought to have a man around time Nellie starts to school and a married name to sign her report cards. Yes, I agreed. Marriage is the most respectable and the most protective institution ever worked out for the benefit of the human race. But there is more to getting married than just getting your name changed. You must get the right kind of man. You will first have to be the kind of person you want your husband to be. So decide, what kind of man do you want? Jenny was very much to the point. One I ain't ashamed of when I measure his corn by my bushel. She said, he's got to measure up to my new way of life and love. We set to work with the law of attraction for a husband for Jenny. This is part of the law of love or desire, and it is unfailing. From the first, Jenny accepted through faith at work the fact that the right man was looking for her, that she would have as much to offer him as he would have to offer her, that it would be fair. In her usual way, Jenny summed it up in a few words. I don't want a Christmas tree ornament husband. I want a real one, because I aim to be a real wife and not an imitation. Eventually, a fine-looking businessman appeared and became acquainted with Jenny's warm smile, her happy outlook on life, and her love of humanity. Being a very lonely man, he tarried to drink more coffee than he wanted while Jenny's bright and genuine interest warmed his heart. When he asked for a package of cigarettes, Jenny said no. She didn't handle them, and she didn't sell beer either because she would not be a party to such lifetime-wasting habits. And it sort of stopped him in his tracks, and he took a real good look at me, Jenny later reported. Came the day when Jenny was sure William was going to ask her to marry him. She rushed for advice and to voice her fears. I ain't aiming to marry a man who can't believe as I do. All these things I've been learning about God and love and the spiritual laws, they mean more to me than even William does. Jenny, I scolded gently. All your life you've wanted love, craved love. You've never before found a man who respected enough to marry. It was this desire, a good in itself, misunderstood and wrongly used, which has led you into most of your past troubles. From what you've told me about him, this William is the man for you, found by the very spirit of love and brought by the law of love to you. Now, why do you begin to fear when trusting the law has brought you so far on your way? It's his religion, said Jenny. She sighed and looked very sad. Says he never misses a meeting, goes every week when he's home. What is his religion? I finally broke in. He's an optimist, she replied, looking very puzzled. I don't know what they believe in, but if he can't... So I told her about the International Optimist Club and watched the quick tears gather in her grateful eyes. Oh, she cried slowly, wonder and awe in her voice and face. The law has worked again. You said I had first to be the kind of person I wanted my husband to be. Well, I mean, ain't I an optimist already? I am sure the world will agree with me that Jenny was an optimist of the highest order. With the question of difference in religion out of Jenny's mind, she turned to her next fear, her past. Should she tell William all? Would love see her through on that? Would the law hold? Does William think he is better than Jesus Christ? I asked. If so, you'd better not marry him. But if he realizes he is not better than our Lord, then I'd say that you can teach him something about love. If he does not forgive your past, how can he expect his sins to be forgiven? Tell him to read John chapter 8, verse 1 through 11. Woman caught in the very act. And tell him that God asks us to forgive our brothers 70 times 7 if necessary, and that we are not so perfect as God. Therefore, God surely forgives us more than we can possibly ask. If God forgives you, then William must also, or suffer. It is the way of love, and it will see you through. Trust it. Jenny was silent a while and then said, For quite a spell now, I ain't felt so guilty about my past. Seems like God has forgiven me fully. Every time I look at somebody with love, forgive them with their own past sins and shortcomings, seems like my past looks lighter. In my tithing, working for others, I feel I ain't giving away at all, but getting something wonderful instead. I know God is better than anything we can think of. The spirit of everything is good. It is the way we handle things that makes them bad, but God made them good to begin with. Thus Jenny had taken another step all by herself. She had learned to think with the mind of love, to tune in to the very vibration of universal good. Fortunate, wonderful Jenny. Most people live all their lives and never discover the fact that this is a friendly universe, that God is indeed the spirit of love, and everything made by that spirit is good, very good. Then one day Jenny brought her new husband, William, to tell me goodbye. They were soon to go back to the state from which they both had come, and there they would make a proper home for Nellie, who was ready to enter school. William got me aside long enough to say, I know I'm not good enough for Jenny, but I am good to be as good to her and for her as I can be. She deserves the best, always doing good for others. He spoke of her many good qualities, her courage, honesty, cheerfulness, her cooking. Everything about Jenny was about perfect, said William, and he concluded, she has the kindest eyes that I ever have seen in a woman's face. Kindest and loveliest, he added warmly. Jenny also had something to say to me in private. She led me to the mirror to which I first had led her more than 5 years before. Now I'm going to tell you what the world sees when I pass by, said Jenny. She looked long and earnestly and then said, they see a youngish-looking woman in a size 38 tailored blue suit that is a knockout for style and beauty. They see a woman who looks washed and clean and who knows what to do with her hair and her hat. She studied herself critically a while longer, broke into a warm smile and added, and I guess if they've really got eyes in their heads, they see me as the happiest woman in the world. Now tell me what God sees in you, Jenny, I requested. God sees a woman who is never going to stop trying to learn, praying, being grateful, trying to be better, said Jenny, and I knew she meant it. Then she wanted to know what I saw in her. I see all that you see and more, I said. I see a child of God, born anew, begotten of God through love, a woman who has established love as the highest law of her life. I see in you a desire to live forever within the law of good. I see in you a soul triumphant, Jenny, accepting good as the only reality in the universe, loving God and forever beloved by Him. I see you, therefore, successful, handling every problem that may ever come to you. Yes, it was a radiant and confident Jenny who called on me that day. But a few weeks later, Jenny came back, white-faced but calm. She didn't need to tell me. Violet was home. Violet had been in jail part of the time during her absence. Jenny hadn't heard from her once while she was away. And she's sick, said Jenny, looking sad and older. She's got the bad disease, some men she took up with. Then Jenny stopped her bitter thoughts, her accusing words, closed her eyes, and clenched her hands and said, Oh God, thank you for helping me to keep on seeing with the eyes of love, thinking with the mind of love, and speaking with love. What are you going to do? I asked. Hold on to the law of love, said Jenny. Going to look at Violet with the eyes of love, even when she's drunk and abusive. Going to listen to her highest self, her Christ self, and keep on knowing she has a power in herself that can change her life, for I know what it means to be saved through Christ. You will remember you cannot force Violet, I cautioned. I know I can't change her life, Jenny hastily assured me. She's got free will. I'll remember that. But I can work with God to bring her to her better senses. God has a stake in the matter. I'm not alone in this, and I'm going to keep that circle of love around her. It brought her home like you said it would. My job is to have faith and to keep on working. Keep on remembering that with God, all good things are possible, I said. Oh, I know. The reason I came was to tell you that you can take me off your worry list and put me on your thank God list. Oh, Jenny, I cried impulsively, throwing my arms around her. Don't you know I already have you on that list? Don't you realize I know beyond a doubt that you will forever go forward without turning back? Didn't you believe me when I told you that before? Yes'm, said Jenny calmly. I knew you thought I would make out with Nellie all right, but I figured you could be mistaken in what I'd do with when Violet come home. Now I know you were right in that too. Then Jenny said something I never shall forget. Out of the mouth of this uneducated woman came words of purest wisdom, proving that not from books or other people, but from God through love, come our greatest teachings about life. Jenny looked pensive a moment, lost in thought, and then said, I know what it means when it says in the Bible, God will wipe away all tears. I urged her to explain it to me. It does not mean that we have to wait until we die to get a reward, happiness, and relief. It means when we really find God, there will be no more tears, for we will then know we are safe and sure no matter how black things look. It means we really are safe all the time, and when we once find out that fact, our tears are over. That is why I ain't crying about Violet. knowing about the spirit of everything being good wiped away my tears before I knew I needed them. It's all settled. Even about Harry, all the world, all my tomorrows, everybody, everything that will ever happen to me. There's no more need ever to cry again except for joy. So at last I was content to close her file, for I knew Jenny was safe forever. Whenever I think of her, I always say, thank you, God, for the privilege of having known her. She taught me much. And what about you, my friend? Are you trying to speak and listen with love? Have you yet discovered that the only way to draw love into your life is first to send out love? Ask several of your friends how your voice sounds to them. Does it have tone qualities of love, or is it sharp, rasping, strident? If so, change your thinking, and your voice will change in kind. Have a record made of your voice. Study it. If it does not carry tones of cheerfulness, joy in living, and at the same time sound calm and soothing, if it is not poised and controlled, look to your total attitude toward life, and you will find what is wrong. And how do you listen? Impatiently? Do you give your speaker the feeling that you are in a hurry and want to be rid of him? Do you frown and appear to be irritated when others talk to you? How do you listen to world news, to good news, to bad news? Check, and you will be able to tally up pretty accurately your total attitude toward life. Add to your notes this affirmation: I speak and listen with love, and love speaks and listens to me. End of chapter. Before you head out, do be so kind, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you found this useful and have someone that may need to hear this, I encourage you, please do forward this chapter to them. And let's head over to the next video where we're going to learn about how to think with the mind of love.